Everybody, and welcome. Shem here with 20 Pages. Thank you for joining us on our first author interview today. If you guys aren't aware of what 20 Pages is, it's pretty much me breaking down 20 pages of a book every day in a short 5 to 10 minute video. And the purpose of these interviews is to pretty much get some more insight on the books that we're going to be covering through the series of 20 Pages. And now the goal of today's video is so you can come out of this video, ending it, and learn something new and pretty much apply it to your life right away. So I want to give you some little background story on exactly how this came up, this opportunity came up. So whenever I was making 20 pages and I did the first series of Law of Attraction, I decided to follow the author of Law of Attraction on Instagram and subscribe to him on YouTube. Shortly after I followed him on Instagram, I received a bunch of likes on my Instagram feed, and I received a follow back and a direct message from the author himself. And I'm not going to lie, this is pretty much where I lost my shit. And I freaked out because I couldn't believe a best time selling author is contacting me and telling me actually through direct messages that he loves the concept of what I'm doing and it's a great idea. So with that being said, it's crazy because with this book, Law of Attraction, I was so positive and optimistic. I had this idea for 20 pages to actually do author interviews, and oddly enough, I shouldn't really say oddly because it's Law of Attraction in play, it attracted me to Michael J. Losier himself, and that's who I have today as our first guest for the interview. Welcome, Michael. It's an awesome pleasure to have you today with us.
Oh,
How are
hello,
you doing
Shem.
today?
Hey, I'm really excited. The whole concept of 20 pages was very interesting. You know, my book's been out for 18 years, and you're the first person to do any videos on it, to kind of break it down. And I just thought, you know, there's a lot of people teaching from my book. There's a lot of people quoting from my book. But I love what you did so much. I took the playlist of all your 20 pages, and I put your playlist on my YouTube as a playlist. And I'm also going to feature you in one of my upcoming Hangout with Michael shows because I loved what you did. You took it in little segments, and because my book's the how-to book, it's a lot of content. It's not a story. It's not a love story. It's not a bunch of testimonials. It's like content. And I loved how you took 20 pages at a time. You worked your ass off like for 5 days that week. And you just didn't give that. You were putting out quotes and the diagrams, and you're funny, and I've been telling lots of people about you, so I'm going to be using your content to promote my book.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was definitely hard to structure your first book because there was so much content, and it was just like, how do I bring out the most value in a 5 to 10 minute video? And most of my videos ran about 10 minutes because there was just so much valuable content, and that's why I'm doing 20 pages is to pretty much bring out the most in each 20 pages. And I think the methods that you had in your book are amazing to actually start applying it into your life right away. And that's why I decided to do your book first, because Law of Attraction pretty much brought me to create 20 pages. And I think this is an awesome like stepping stone for other people to begin, you know, their entrepreneurial journey or whatever, just pursuing their dreams.
That's right. You know, my book, all three of my books actually were seminars first. But probably as you were going through my book, it looked like a training course, right? And it really was. I did hundreds of seminars on all three topics before I wrote my book. So that's why it was kind of easy for you to teach from. And I did progression, like, well, do this first, say this first, then step one, then step two. And that's why people like my book, because there's a starting place. I tell you what to do, how to do it, what to say, how to say it, and all the steps in the process. And frankly, it's men friendly. My book is man friendly, right? A lot of men like definitely. That. They need to know a process. It's not a big fluffy book with just all words. Right. And I actually wrote it based on my second book, Law of Connection, which is about the 4 learning styles. So my book just as an all text, you'll notice that I have cartoons and illustrations. I have checkoff lists. I have worksheets and blank worksheets and completed worksheets. I have pull-out quotes. I have 4-5 characters with names. So it's kind of like the Law of Attraction for dummies. In a respectful way, it's teaching to all the 4 learning styles. And that's why people like my book. They always say, wow, you wrote your book just for me. I really get it. And it's because I wrote to the 4 styles, and everybody's one of those most dominant styles.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Yeah, it was awesome with all your diagrams. That's what in my videos I had to include them because honestly, it made things kind of a lot better to explain because a
Yes.
lot of people are visual learners. So it makes it a lot easier for people to visually see what you're talking about.
Yes. Well, even,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I do a live Friday show, and I actually use little cards like this. Remember the book I talked about? This is the vibrational bubble. This is your
Yes.
vibes are inside the bubble. So instead of just talking about it, because that would satisfy the auditory person, I like to show it. And now I'm burning that image into the viewer. They're thinking, oh, that's what he means when he says vibrational bubble. The
Yep.
auditory people get it, but the visual people saying, what does that mean? It's like a round bubble. It's just a description to say that our vibes are inside of here. So even when I'm doing my live shows, I'm always using cards and these little, I call them cards, to show the image that I'm talking about, because I want to satisfy all the learning styles.
Perfect. Yeah, actually, now that you actually mentioned that the vibrational bubble, I meant to actually ask you in part 3 of the 20 pages series for Law of Attraction, I was kind of hesitant on actually including that in the episode because I was kind of a little confused on it. Do you mind actually explaining it a little bit more in depth and explain how it works?
Okay, well, you know, at every minute, you and I have a mood or a feeling. Both those
Sure.
words mean the same thing. And that mood or feeling is actually a vibe. You know how sometimes we'll say, wow, he's putting off a negative vibe, or
Yep.
she's got a positive vibe, or this neighborhood has a negative vibe. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
word vibe really comes from a mood or a feeling. So when we
Mm-hmm.
were describing the word vibe, we're really talking about the mood or the feeling. And there's only 2 kinds, positive vibes and negative vibes.
Yep.
Positive feelings, negative feelings. But the word vibe actually comes from the longer word, say it when you know it,
Vibrational or
vibration.
vibration.
So I'm really demystifying the word vibration because it's confusing. A vibration is simply a vibe, and a
Right.
vibe is a mood or a feeling. So when do you have a mood or a feeling? Right now, and right now. And even if you're denying having a mood or a feeling, you have one right now. There's
Yep.
not one in the middle. You're either putting off a negative feeling or a positive feeling. And those feelings are coming from the thoughts and the words you're using. So now I'm thinking about something yesterday that didn't work out well. I'm not even doing it on purpose, but now I'm emitting or putting out or sending a negative vibe. And now I'm thinking about this interview and all the work you did for my book, and I'm thinking, I love that. So now it doesn't have to be total excitement, but now it's a positive vibe. So
Sure.
even though there's negative vibes and positive vibes, they're on a different scale. A positive vibe could be content, or it could be really high on the scale, which is like totally freaked out and excited and abundant and, woohoo, like a really strong positive vibe.
Yep.
Or it could be a little irritation on the negative side, or it could go all the way to the scale to being rageful. So my point is, you're either on one of those sides. You're either experience a negative vibe or a positive vibe. And I use this illustration to describe your vibes are around you. And I call it the vibrational bubble. My vibes are here. They're not over there. They're not in my car. They're around me. And law of attraction is this universal energy that's eavesdropping. It has a job description. The job description for law of attraction is match vibrations. You see, the universe isn't very smart, but it is obedient. And that's why it's called the law. So right now, the vibration that we're sending is in this pretend vibrational bubble. And law of attraction is eavesdropping on the vibe that I'm sending. And what's it doing to it? Matching it. So if I'm getting ticked off and angry and disappointed and, having those moods or feelings, guess what? Law of attraction doesn't know whether I want it or don't want it. It's obedient. It's responding to the vibe that I'm sending by giving me more of the same. So now I get another cancellation and another person's rude and another negative event. And that's why people say, what's going on? What a horrible day I'm having today. Because law of attraction is checking and what? Matching. Checking and matching, checking and matching, checking and matching. But in my book, I tell people how to reset that. The same thing happens when people say, wow, am I ever on a roll? This is like the third client I got today, or this is like the third time I found money today, or this is the third time somebody flirted with me today. Am I ever on a roll? You see, in your enthusiasm of finding the money the first time, you were sending the positive vibration of finding money, and law of attraction is checking and matching and checking and matching and checking and matching. So when we say we're on a roll, we could say we're on a vibrational roll. Whether it's negative or positive, it's because of your vibes. Law of attraction isn't prejudice. It doesn't have favoritism. It's obedient. And if you're curious, listening, anybody, or you too, Shem, if you're curious and you want to know what the vibe is that you're sending in any area, go to that area and take a look and see what you're getting. It's a perfect match. You want to know the vibe you're sending about money? Open your wallet. You want to know the vibe that you're sending about getting that job interview? How's that working for you? I didn't create the rule. I'm just teaching it. It's simple. If you've attracted it, you had it in your vibrational bubble, period.
Definitely. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. It kind of always comes down to awareness, and that's initially the first step you have to have is awareness before you start realizing how to start attracting the positive vibes and the negative, or I should say stay away from the negative vibes, but you have to be aware that you're having negative vibes in order to do that switch to go to positive vibes.
That's
So
right.
that was an excellent explanation. I really appreciate that because I was kind of hesitant on, like I said, I was hesitant on actually explaining it because I wasn't too sure of it. But
Yeah.
that was an awesome explanation. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, all of us have a vibrational meter. All of
Mm,
us have a vibe meter within
sure.
us. You know what it is?
Isn't it? Well, didn't you have that like radio station dial
Yes,
thing?
that too. Your vibe meter is your feelings. Your feelings are the indication of where your vibe is. So if you're feeling cranky and irritated and guilt and shame and blame and hatred, then you got a low vibe. When you're feeling love and appreciation and gratitude, then you got a high vibe. Your
Yep.
feelings are actually your vibrational meter reader. And when you catch yourself having a negative vibe, then you need to reset it. And when you reset your vibe, then you reset the results that you get.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. All right. So now you did mention like you didn't create the law of attraction, but you're simply teaching it. So what differentiates you from other people that are teaching the law of attraction?
Right. Well, I'm the how-to guy.
Sure.
I teach people how to apply it. You see, I've merged law of attraction and NLP together. NLP stands for neuro, the brain,
Mm,
linguistics, which is word, and programming, which programs your brain. So I'm not
okay.
just teaching law of attraction, I'm merging it with NLP. So when you read my book, you say, oh, I get this now. My book isn't a storybook about law of attraction success stories.
Mm,
You know, with all due respect, people have watched The Secret. Well, The Secret was inspirational, but it was missing the educational component.
sure.
So people that watch The Secret and maybe learn about law of attraction, they want to know, how do I do that? How do I reset my vibe? How do I track this? How do I get rid of my doubt? How do I give it attention? How do
Mm,
I talk about what I want? And it was Oprah Winfrey that actually coined me as the how-to guy. She interviewed me 4 times on her Soul series, and then I end up having my own radio show on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Not
okay.
to drop names or anything, but
Hey, it's definitely not a lot of people can say that they had their own radio station with
no. Or
Oprah
been
Winfrey.
interviewed, for, I was with Oprah for 2 full hours. They were all half-hour interviews. My book sold
Okay.
3 million copies. It's published in 37 languages, and I've trained 470 trainers to teach law of attraction the Michael Losier way. So in 17 countries, 17 languages, there could be a seminar today on law of attraction using my book and my methodology in a different language.
That's awesome because it's pretty much your knowledge just keeps spreading. It's kind of like a compound effect. It just keeps like spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading.
Yeah,
And it all bridges from your teachings, which is incredible.
that's right. Thank you. And my book's old. It came out in 2003.
Yeah, and
And
it's
now we're
still,
2018. It's 15 years old, plus the 3 years that I wrote it. I was a government employee. I had
okay.
Fridays off. I took a cut and pay, and I worked Monday to Thursday. So Thursday night and Friday was my law of attraction. I had a split life. Thursday at 5 o'clock, I wasn't a government employee anymore. And I'd go anywhere. I'd go to coffee shop and networking. I'd go to people's house with 3 people in the living room. And I would stand up and deliver my presentation. I'd get asked to go anywhere. I've done them in Starbucks. I've done them in coffee shops. I've done them in libraries. I've done them when nobody showed up. I did that every Friday for a year, building my law of attraction processes and my workbooks. And
sure.
Then I started a group in my home. There was 2 of us. That's all it takes to start a group is 2 people. And within 6 months, I had 44 people bringing lawn chairs and cushions and sitting in my living room listening to me. And people would say, oh, I love when you said that. I'd take a note. Oh, I love that worksheet you designed. So when it came time to write my book, I just used all the feedback. And then I started to do seminars. So my book was actually my full day seminar with all my notes and all my experiences. And then I turned it into a book.
Okay.
I
awesome.
hustled.
Yeah, for sure.
Even before we were talking about grinding and hustling, I was doing that. People would say, wow, I see your name all over the place. You must be, congratulations. What they didn't know is sometimes nobody showed up. But I was still hustling, and it turned into like a Tupperware party. I'd go somewhere, and people would say, hey, would you come to my house? I'd say, if you have 4 people, I'll go. And I'd go there and say, hey, would you come to my office? I said, if you can get 5 to 10 people, I'll go.
Okay.
And I did it. I did presentations with 2 people in a restaurant before. It's like and I just held my head up high and I did it anyway. Probably 50 of those. And then I start charging people for a full day seminar while I'm still working for the government. I was doing this every Friday, the same one. And then I was upselling people to a $99 workshop. And the first time I had 10 people, I made $1,000 in one day. Are you freaking serious? That was a lot of money. I was a government employee. I just made $1,000 in a day.
Yep.
And then after 8 months, because remember, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was doing this free when I'd go anywhere. And then once a month, I'd do a paid seminar. Sometimes I get 20 people, 25 people. And after 8 months, I had 103 people show up. I made $10,000. I know, but I hustled. Don't think that came to me easily. I probably did 30 or 40 of these free introductory presentations, even in front of people that didn't want me to be there. And people would be so enamored because people really wanted to know a different solution. They wanted to know, how can I tap into, even though the word law of attraction was new, the experience wasn't. I'm sure you used the word coincidence. Hey, this is such a coincidence. So that meant that's evidence of law of attraction. So people received evidence of law of attraction but didn't know it had a name. So when I start to say it has a name, this thing that when you say serendipitous or synchronicity or fate or karma or everything fell into place or good or bad luck or coincidence, you are experiencing law of attraction. So people wanted to learn more, and then I did the full day seminar. So my book is actually a condensed version of my full day seminar.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you truly did have an entrepreneurial journey before you got to where you are today. I'm guessing this is what you're doing pretty much full time now.
I'm doing it full time. Listen, I was an entrepreneur when I was 15 years old. I lived in the country near a drive-in theater. You probably don't even know what that is, do you? Where people would drive.
I do actually. We have one out here.
Oh, do you? And I would bring a bottle of Windex and paper towels. And I would go wash people's windows, and I would get $1. And I remember the girlfriends in the car saying, "Oh, give them $2." And I'd wash their windows inside and out and I would leave there with $20. I mean, I was 15 years old. That was a lot of money. I was hustling then. I was doing good service. I knew that business, you need to be solving a problem. And the problem I was solving was dirty windows at the drive-in theater. And my mother was very entrepreneurial. There's 4 kids in the family. At the back of the house, there was a little salon, and she was a hairdresser. So she was working on women's hair 2 or 3 times a day. And she was also a wedding cake decorator out of our house. So my mother was bringing in lots of money. So I never heard my parents once in my whole life talk about money, because my mother had her own. And my dad worked at in a pulp mill. He was a laborer, a hard worker. But they never fought about money. They never discussed money. So it's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was like not poor dad, but hardworking dad. an entrepreneurial mom. So even though I worked for the government, I knew I could make more money. I knew I could make more money than my government salary. And that was exchanging my energy for money. And the energy I was exchanging was my knowledge about how to apply law of attraction. And I built a whole career around it.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. I couldn't find really any background information on you on the internet, and now I got a good amount of information of how you actually started making your rise to where you are now. So that's awesome.
Well, I haven't told that story very much. So most people want to know more about law of attraction. So,
sure.
And I gave you some behind the scenes.
Definitely. That's what we like to hear. We like the behind the scenes of the book and the author themselves, because you can't really find a lot of information on people on the internet. Like, you can, but to an extent. So that is awesome. I appreciate that. Now with the law of attraction, how did you first come across it?
Well, before I tell you that story, I was one of those people. I grew up with a brother 9 years older, brother and sister, and another sister 7 years younger. So I kind of grew up myself. When you're 6 years old, you don't hang around with the 1-year-old or an 18-year-old brother and sister. So I kind of, and I was overweight when I was young. So I could have been bullied, and I knew how to avoid negativity. Mm-hmm. So I also started to see the relationship between when I was positive. I mean, I would just daydream about stuff, and it would show up, and I thought, what is going on? Like, I really it's like, this is really cool. Mm. So I was pretty positive. People would come to me with problems and negativity, and even when I was young, I was coaching people and helping them change their attitudes about stuff. And this was, I'm in my 50s, so back then I was weird. I was strange. I was a positive thinker. When I was your age, if you wanted to buy a self-help book, you had to go to a little witchcraft store to find one. Like, now you can buy them in Walmart. You can buy them in Costco, like, my book, other self-help books. So I was different. I was weird, and I was isolated because I was different. Mm. And then when I was working for the government, I had a closed office, and I would have people come into my office, and they'd be complaining about their negative life and everything. And, I would, just kind of talk to them about stuff. And so I was secretly coaching people in the government about law of attraction, and people loved it, but they never talked about it publicly. Like, even in the lunchroom, we never said, and nobody knew that the other person knew that I was coaching them about law of attraction. People's lives were changing. And then I went to a seminar in 1996 in Seattle. Now, I live on an island on the west coast of Canada, north of Seattle. So I took a ferry to Seattle, and the most profound thing that I learned in that seminar, because law of attraction was really a strange subject. I have a book from 1913 that references law of attraction, and 1917, and then there was nothing. So I go to this seminar, and of course I didn't know it was called law of attraction, and the trainers talked about law of attraction, and when they said law of attraction's job description is to match the vibration. So if you send a negative vibe, that's all I needed to hear. I was done. I thought, finally, I had a reason, because I understood the relationship. When I attracted positive things, I got positive things. But how could I attract negative things? I was such a positive person. And so my theory fell apart. But then when I found out, that's why it's called the law, because it responds to positive. And that's why positive people like Oprah Winfrey and millionaires, that's why they can attract negative things, because they probably gave attention to negative things. So once I learned that, and then I came home and I started that group in my home, me and my friend Linda, and before you know it, I had 44 people. And when you have 44 people coming to your house, you got to take lead. You got to open up, you got to welcome people, you got to have a theme, you got to have it wasn't a tea party. It's like they came for some information. And what I learned after 44 sessions is that their questions were always the same, and so was the answer. No matter what their story was, no matter what their scenario about what they were attracting, the answer was always the same. Sure. The answer was, you get what you vibrate. But I couldn't say that short answer. So I'd have to find out what were they doing that was causing them to send the negative vibration that included in their vibration that caused them to attract negative things. And that's how it started. So, yeah, I was pretty isolated. I learned it on my own. I even today have good friends that, 2 weeks ago I did a presentation here in Victoria for the Law of Attraction meetup group. And two of my friends said, hey, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm giving a presentation. My friend said, I think I'll come. Two of my friends never been, and they were in the audience and their eyes rolled out of their head. They said, holy S-balls, you were on fire. And I got a standing, like I'm a world-class trainer. I had 100% of the audience engaged in 18 seconds. And I had them fully engaged for 45 minutes, and they remember. My friends are like, they were the only two that didn't participate. They were just like, this is Michael Losier. This is my friend Michael. Like they were numb. And even since that presentation, they say, well, it makes so much sense. Now I know why. Because if they call me and they're negative, you know what I tell them? I'm either going to help you reset your negativity or we're not having a conversation. And so they learn not to call me when they're negative unless they want to get reset. So they have a better understanding. But
Sure.
It would be nice if all my friends read my book, however. But if people don't ask the question, they don't always hear the answer. That's an important point. If they don't ask the question about law of attraction and I try to give them the answer, there's going to be more friends I'm going to lose because I did that my whole life. I tried to teach and coach people that didn't ask, and before you know it, I've got no friends. So I would tolerate having friends that weren't into it, although I influenced them greatly, and now they know why.
Definitely. Yeah, I've learned that myself actually slowly. Yeah, like a lot of my friends don't have like the same mindset as me, and it kind of differentiates me from them because like whenever I try to tell them like for example, law of attraction, like how you're attracting these certain things, they have their ears open, but it just goes right through them.
Yeah.
They don't like they're just like, yeah, that's cool, and they just kind of disregard it. And that's where I've realized it comes down to self-awareness and attention. They have to realize for themselves when it's time to like turn on their switch to realize that these things exist and how they can like influence their lives.
Well, I have the solution for that. You
Sure.
know, because both you and I, we want to go enroll everybody. Hey, learn about law of attraction.
Yeah.
Your job is to model it.
Mm.
Your job is to model and say, wow, I just interviewed the author of Law of Attraction. I think Gary Vee wants to be interviewed too, because I know you're doing you're doing his book. People say, wow, how do you do that? They just ask, and now you have their permission. So
There you go.
So for you and I, don't try to go teach people. Just model it. And in the modeling, they're going to want to know more.
Sure.
So Shem, if you had one more question for me in closing, what would that be?
You know, man, I have so many good questions for you. I did want to mention one really quick thing because it kind of relates to the whole entrepreneurial journey, the whole self-development thing. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll do that really quick. I read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, and supposedly there's a correlation of good luck and like for example, getting riches. So do you think, like for example, does the law of attraction work off of good luck in a sense? Like
good
looking
luck,
at a millionaire.
Well,
Sure.
luck is evidence of your vibration. So
Yep.
good luck is a positive vibration, bad luck is a negative vibration. And the speed at which you attract anything is determined in how much doubt you have in receiving it. So
Okay.
people that buy the lottery ticket, they have desire to win it, but they have doubt in winning. The people
Right.
that want to have that ideal boyfriend or girlfriend, they have that desire, but they also have doubt. So your manifestation isn't determined on how much you want it. It's determined on how much doubt you have in receiving it.
Got it. All right, Michael. I appreciate your time today and all the advice you've given, everything. Tell us where can more of our audience reach you at and learn more about what you're teaching?
Oh, that's easy. It is, I'll show you up at top. It's hangoutwithmichael.com.
Sure.
Everything's there. Hangoutwithmichael.com. I've got 3 books. I do 2 live Facebook shows a week. I'm on episode number 250 that I've been doing every Friday, teaching nuggets from all 3 of my books. Yeah. And you are doing the next 20 pages on Gary Vee's book. So I am going to hold the energy that he is going to notice the work that you're doing and is going to want to acknowledge you and say, bro, I'll do an interview with you. Say yes if you're in.
I am definitely in, yes.
That's right. Okay, good stuff. Okay, that was a great interview. Thanks, Shem.
Hey, thanks a lot, Michael. It was an awesome pleasure. I can't thank you enough. Have a great day and enjoy and keep on attracting good things. Well, guys, that concludes our first interview with Michael J. Losier. I'm not going to lie, I probably mispronounced your name right there, and I keep mispronouncing your name, Michael. I am so sorry. I have a really difficult name, too, so I feel you on that. But I hope you guys, the audience, picked out a lot of great insights out of this. There's a lot of things that you can learn in his book, Law of Attraction, and his other books, too, which I'm sure I'll be covering later down the road. However, right now I have a list of books to go through before I start implementing new books to cover. And in the future of these interviews, I do plan to do them face-to-face with the author themselves. I think it's going to be a lot more lively and a lot more energetic because you're going to see both of us in one sitting as opposed to seeing two separate little boxes of us. And it's going to be a lot more lively than us just sitting there, you know, kind of staying put in one area. But I hope you guys enjoyed everything. Thank you for watching. Thanks a lot. Other than that, guys, follow Michael on all his social media handles. I'll include that in the description. Also, check out hangoutwithmichael.com. You're probably going to learn a lot of new insights about Law of Attraction and pretty much start learning how to incorporate Law of Attraction into your life right away. Go read his book, go enjoy it, go start implementing Law of Attraction to your life, start radiating positive vibes, start attracting the things you want in your life, and start reading, you know. That's pretty much the premise of 20 pages. You want to start reading and start getting a lot of information out of just 20 pages a day. It's really not that much. I don't ask for too much. That's pretty much it. But please, guys, I'm going to include all the social media handles in the link description below. I would totally do the classic follow us here, and please subscribe. But it's the interview. We got to do something a little different. So that's going to be down there below. I'd appreciate it if you guys check it out. Thanks a lot, guys. Be awesome. Keep on reading. Keep on radiating positive vibes and attracting the things that you desire in your life.